Cutting edge guests, awesome, uncensored, jaw-dropping information, plus funny memes, good deeds, and loads of laughter. Kind of have it all. Ladies and gentlemen, if your soul's awake, then welcome, because you're in the right place. Presidents JFK, DJT, and JFK Jr. A biblical boom week is ahead. The divine lions and lionesses. And on this explosive Ascended Sunday, marking the 251st anniversary of Paul Revere's historic midnight ride in 1775, I, Brad Wozny, your host, will help connect the dots between those two presidents and the enduring legacy of JFK Jr. What we've also seen is a flood of signals across politics, finance, global power, pointing to what could be the most pivotal week with biblical proportions in known history. Gold, oil, entire monetary system shifting at levels never seen before. Plus, from the highest office in the land down through Congress, conversations around President Trump's executive order mandating UFO, UAP, and alien disclosures, pushing boundaries of what's being revealed even at a biblical level with the Book of Enoch outside the Roman Catholic Church. So sovereign souls see above the noise, can spot the signs of this coalescing convergence. Join me soon. If you're paying attention, the pattern of a revolutionary reset never before seen is becoming impossible for even the hardened normies to ignore. And welcome back to the Sovereign Soul Show. It is Sunday, April 19th. I'm your host, Brad Wozny, and as you know, our creed is love, levity, and liberty, because love is the greatest power anywhere in the universe. Is levity. There's Digest got it right. Laughter is the best medicine, and it also, levity is elevation of your vibrational state, your etheric body, spiritual body, and then liberty, libertas, that is freedom for the sovereign. Now, you are a soul. Your first thing is we are a spirit having a physical existence. You are an infinitesimal, powerful soul. That stands for the sound of unlimited love. And we've got the Bling Buddha here as a representation. Now, remember, in Sovereign Soul Show logo, I have the heart in the O for sovereign. The I is Archangel Michael's sword turned upside down, ready for battle to be unsheathed. And it's also a cross. And then in soul, the O is the tree of life. And the Bling Buddha is our mascot. What is he always wearing? Gold and silver. He's got a gold chain blinging him out, and he's got a silver token which says XRP on it. And it's been that way for nearly 4 years now. We're coming up next month. It'll be 4 years. Of course, he's firing SIG 226. It's a red pill of awakening. And he's got the dove of peace on his left shoulder, as well as the flower of life, all symbolic of the capability for us to start to expand our consciousness and our awareness into things that we do not know, and we didn't know that we didn't know for good reason. And what we've got coming here is incredible, right? And you saw in the beginning of the trailer, I will start stitching together for you what President JFK started, as well as the White Hats just before him, to what President Donald John Trump 45-47 is carrying forward, and then JFK Jr. Now, this week is the week for the UFO disclosure. We have the Iran, the Cuba, the gold standard, and more. So just stay tuned for that. And if anybody would like to catch up from this week, I'm very grateful to have you all here as an audience. It's absolutely powerful. All of our shows, again, they're on YouTube here, but also on Rumble as I'm live streaming there now. And they are censor free. Actually, we're coming up on 900 there, but Rumble pulled 35 shows in the early parts of the censor-free era, but they censored 35 shows. Isn't that interesting, right? So here we are. At least all of them are up there over the course of the week. Just posted yesterday, Sovereign Spiritual Warriors, the Giza Protocol Level 3, Warriors of Wellness with Gregory Mascari right before he was there. It was Connie Lucas and Barry Lucas right before they were there in Hollywood with the premiere of Code of Creation. And that is more or less a documentary film on the life and the mission of David Schmidt, the CEO and visionary founder and America's most prolific inventor walking right now. We all say that he's got to be Nikola Tesla invented, because he now has 201 patents. He's received 201 patents. His uncle had 150 before him, so he's broken that mold. And there's a large part of it about, LifeWave X39, but the LifeWave X20 water technology. And sure, you might see us calling it a machine, but it's actually a technology. There's 20 patents issued. The US Patent and Trademark Office had to open a new division for this because there are two new elements that David Schmidt invented on the planet, which never existed before on the periodic table. And that's actually infusing water with light water. Infusing it has incredible results of people with all things that have happened to them. Again, because we are a wellness technology, we're not oversaw by the FDA. So we can't say, heal, cure, prevent, etc. I hope you get our drift. Skynet Active had an incredible show with co-founder of Root, CEO as well, Clayton Thomas. And then you've got our World's Greatest Reset from the other week. So it's all up there for everybody to get, plus our clips and reels. Follow us on Rumble, Telegram, X account. Those are linked on YouTube as well as Rumble, Facebook account. Thank you so much. We just reached 30,000 Facebook followers on a brand new page that went up in December. And no hashtags, no idea, no marketing, nobody whiz bang, have even put a penny forward for that. So it's all you incredible souls who have been waking up and being here where we are right now to witness these events. And we're heading into what, to me, is one of the most symbolically loaded weeks in modern history, politically and financially and even biblically, right? So let's take you over to Paul Revere. So let me go right to the website. As you might have seen right now, and I mentioned to you, today is the 251st anniversary morning after Paul Revere made his incredible midnight ride. And as it says here on the State Department website X account, that we honor Paul Revere's midnight ride, the spark in the dark that ignited the American Revolution. The redcoats are coming. The redcoats are coming. Everybody remembers that, right? Well, also, this post, it was April 18, 1775, silversmith. Did you know that Paul Revere, Patriot Paul Revere, was a silversmith? And along with William Dowes, later joined by Samuel Prescott, rode from Boston to warn colonial leaders, Samuel Adams, great beer still too, by the way, and John Hancock in Lexington, Massachusetts, and alert the Minutemen, the Vermont Minutemen, of which Kevin Hoyt is a direct descendant of the Vermont Minutemen, who fired the first volley at British troops, the tyrannical troops who were continued to rape, enslave, slaughter, and burn down villages of the settlers, right? Or what we currently know as settlers. But a lot more is about to unfold of the truth of the real history. So they were marching to seize the weapon supplies in Concord, and it was Kevin Hoyt's ancestors, as well as the Minutemen of Vermont, who took the first stand in this incredible battle. And then we had all those families pledge their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. So it's truly monumental where we are right now, right? Extremely monumental on America's 250, the America First anniversary. And a lot more information is coming out about the fact that America, the continent of America, just actually might have been real Israel, real Egypt. Man, that's a rabbit hole to go down at a later show. But there is quite a bit of evidence to suggest that that could potentially be the case. But what I want to do right now, like Paul Revere, the silversmith, patriot, riding, warning about the British coming, the British are coming, is take a look at two real heroes of our time. Many of you, and this is an acknowledgement because, as JFK said, ask not what you can do for your country, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Somebody's going to correct me on that in the first few seconds they see it. We'll see the comments, right? People jump in, they listen to every word. That's great. And this man, to me, epitomizes that exact example. Many of you might have heard in Oklahoma not long ago that there was a principal, a man by the name of Kirk Moore. Well, just on Friday, here's this video. He was crowned prom king at the high school. And if you're just hearing this for the first time, I'm about to show you why. And this man is a full-blown patriot and a hero for saving the kids from somebody who walked in to mow down the kids at his school. Here's that video, side-by-side split, and I'll take you right back. He was just crowned prom king. So on the right-hand side, you see this was last week. A teenager walked in with a gun in his hand, about to open fire, and you can see Kirk Moore tackling him to the ground, holding him down, and stopping the murderous attack on the school. And he was just crowned prom king by the graduating class. So well done. Eric Dougherty is the one who reposted that video. What a living American legend. Now give him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. His kids love him. And he sustained injuries. That's one example of a man and women, divine masculine, divine feminine, standing up where it counts. Here's another man who has been great up in Canada, in British Columbia, healing horses. Now, this is about a 3-minute video of healing horses, our good man, and he's been sending it against the absolute WEF Satanists. If there's kids in the room, put earmuffs on, because even though I grew up in lumber mills, our family had it, and we were around blue collar, and then I signed up for the Canadian Infantry, thought it was country. It's not. It's a corporation based in DC. All Canadians are Americans. Oh, you just wait until the 7 or 8 facts I'm going to show you on that fact. And those are directly linked to Washington, DC as well. This man tells it all. And this is the kind of man who I look to as a hero, who's been speaking out and doesn't care about what's come with him because he has God on his side. Now, this video is about 3 minutes, like I mentioned. So I'm just going to turn it up a bit, cover the kids with earmuffs. I'll take you right over to the page and listen to this. Because like they say, not all heroes wear capes, right? And thank you, Santa Trump. And my friend Scott McKay reposted this video on all of their social media accounts about 4 days ago. Here it is from Ron.
I'm Ron from Helping Horses Heal. Yesterday while I was at work trimming horses, I had the great experience of watching 3 youngsters interact with their horses while they were waiting for them to get their feet trimmed. I watched the joy, the excitement, the love, the care. And as soon as those ponies' feet were trimmed, well, up on them they went, bareback, all in their own accord, out each seeking their own adventure. And then it came to me in a very solemn fucking way while I was standing there, tools in hand, that it's my responsibility, as it is yours, good men, to step up and make sure that these kids have a good fucking future that's full of adventure. Instead of living in a 15-minute city as an anatom, an ATM for a group of fucking inept and very fucking corrupt pedophiles who run the fucking show. We don't have a political system in this fucking country. We have a group of fucking selected individuals who are completely on the fucking take, there to push the fucking agenda. And in no way are they helping us out. I want you to stop and think about it for a minute. All these motherfuckers do up there is write laws. Laws on how to strip you and me away from our fucking rights, while they continue to take raises and fuck this country over in every sense, every fucking direction. It has to fucking stop. And the only fucking way this stops is if you and I stand together and fucking stop it for the sake of the fucking kids and their futures. Every fucking member of the World Economic Forum in Canada should be booted the fuck out. They are our enemy. It doesn't matter what side of the fucking political realm they're on. They're here to systematically destroy this fucking country. And you're watching it happen. We can't vote our way out of this fucking thing. Everything is corrupt from the fucking foundation up. We need a complete fucking rewrite. A government of the people, for the people. No more party bullshit. Independent representation of your geographical area and your unique needs. Any type of fucking lobbying will be seen as a fucking crime. And you, your fucking company, will be stripped of all your fucking assets. We have a fucking duty to make sure that this earth is looked after and that those kids have the fucking rights that we grew up with. Enough is enough. And if you want to send the fucking RCMP to my door to intimidate me because of what I'm saying on the fucking internet, be prepared, boys, for a very well articulated go fuck yourself. I'm sick and fucking tired of this. I'm an old man, but I'm not going to my fucking grave knowing that I did nothing to protect the fucking future of our youth, their freedoms, and their fucking rights. Now let's get the fucking together here. We gotta stay the fucking course. I want you to feel my fucking rage. I want you to build it inside yourself. They're hurting our fucking children. They're stripping of them of their fucking future. Let's stay the fucking course and let's resist.
Let's resist. Let's stay the course. I'll let you see that whole video because he is speaking absolute truth. And right after the RCMP murdered Canadians at the Freedom Convoy in February 2022, I watched them beat my fellow brothers and sisters, veterans, who were praying at the war cenotaph in Ottawa, beat them, butt stroked them, kicked them, punched them. They pepper sprayed families. They smashed windows. They damaged property. They allowed the doxing of Canadians and anybody else around the world that could get out there who went and donated $5. They destroyed lives, families, and right now they're about to open maid houses, medical assistance in death houses. Hey, just right around your neighborhood street, just outside your city or your municipality, regional town offices, you can just walk into the house and receive maid because you might be depressed today. But you can't get a knee replacement for upwards of 4 years for that surgery. So that's what it's all about. And that 4 years ago, when I saw that happen, and it caused me to put my fist through the wall immediately, when I watched the clan mother and the other man who was murdered by the trampling of those horses, I had to stand up and get out there. My film career, I put completely on the side. As all of you know, and many of you know, I had not one, but 2 movie scripts that I wrote on spec. Spec means speculative. I'm writing a story I believe will be a blockbuster movie, something I always wanted to do since I was a kid. And I just optioned not one, but 2 of those scripts 3 months apart at a major Hollywood studio, December 2019 and February 2020. And then came back up from Santa Monica on my motorcycle to Vancouver because they were locking it down. They wouldn't have any more meetings at the studios. And I was at my condo and they locked us down and everything was going off and that was it. They're already doing in 2020 with us in the film industry, TV, film industry, Canada. They're already doing social credit score. They're already doing the equity, the DEI. They're already requiring, not requiring, but asking you to put your pronouns. I didn't even know what the fuck a pronoun was. Now, if people see me on Zoom, I'd ask you for your pronouns. Depending on the subject matter we're talking about, I would just put FAFO. This exactly image. And that's how we should all feel. And that's how we should be about our children. There's no gray areas here whatsoever. So that's why I started the show, the Sovereign Soul Show, for everybody, to remind each of you and each of us that we can reflect incredible light and vibration out to the world, and we can have a consciousness shift. We can expedite our ascension, but it doesn't mean that we turn a blind eye to evil. We actually have to face it head on, and we have to verbalize it, get it out there, and share, because the cockroaches will go into the shadows, and in the shadows, they can be scooped up under certain executive orders. But we have to keep pressing because the demons are again on their last stand, like you heard with Ron. And so that's why I'm here. And the show will not end until we know, and I'm absolutely positive, that no child will ever be hurt again and has to worry about kidnapping on a playground, child trafficking, satanic ritual abuse. The show will continue as a result of it. And it has its many branches, the financial aspects, the political aspects, and whatnot. But realize that each one of those aspects of it: consciousness, wellness versus pharmakia. Pharmakia, sorcery, Bible. That is witchcraft, right? Directly from Yeshua, the man's lips. You can even go into scripture and see what Yeshua said about everything that you ever needed for any ailment on the planet is provided to you by my Father, the King of Kings. And guess what President Trump just signed? I got to witness it and watch the press conference last minute yesterday. An executive order on ibogaine. Ibogaine, that plant from Africa, that incredible root, where you had Navy SEAL Team 6 veteran Rob O'Neill, the guy who first came out and they allowed to be out and say, I took a shot. It was probably me who killed OBL, and went and done multiple podcasts with Donald Trump Jr. They also had veteran SEAL Team 6, Marcus Capone, his wife Amber Capone, who run a foundation where in order for veterans, particularly veterans, but also law enforcement and health workers, benevolent, as well as other first responders who needed treatment for extreme PTSD, have to fly to Mexico and do this under supervision. Joe Rogan, standing with President Trump yesterday, said, I texted President Trump, said, here are the benefits. We need to get this in. We have a mental health crisis here in America. And Trump replied back, it's on there. You can watch this video. And he said, great. Do you need FDA approval? Sounds good. Let's do this. So here it is. In 1 week, you, the man or the woman watching this, you can have a positive effect on your family, your community, and people. It might not be every person that you want to have the effect on, but there's a ripple effect of our consciousness. It's like a wave, a tsunami, the higher level of vibration of consciousness. If you look at two tuning forks in a room and you have one at a higher octave than the other, the one that's at the lower octave will rise up to the higher octave. Is no wonder why they didn't take, or they don't want rather, and they removed May the bells from the churches around the world. Is it any wonder why they covered up the history of Tartaria and Tartar people all across the planet? Lots of that's coming in these next few weeks in the month of May, because we're in that 40-day ascension window from the time that Yahshua rose on Sunday, April 5th, AD 33. And it's pretty incredible. Now to President Trump's executive order, to the increasing the ascension of the consciousness, to Rob O'Neill, Team 6 veteran, said, I had this treatment. This treatment saved my life. It saved my wife's life. And went on and on and on about people. He said immediately one treatment, it destroyed, his words, my demonic relationship with alcohol. Some people, it's 2 treatments. And we're talking about a root from a plant under medical supervision. And then they discussed yesterday, still in the Oval, upon the signing, that the mental health crisis in America is of epic proportions. As a result of that, 21%, it said, by RFK Jr., are prescribed antidepressants. Now, I have a fucking big, hard sword of truth that I like to levy all the time against pharmakia, because pharmakia murdered my parents. They continue to prescribe lorazepam and Prozac and all these pills to my parents because the ebb and flows of the economy is going up and down, right? Oh, you're successful. You built your lumber business, lumber mills. You have employees. You're employing Canadians, and you're shipping your lumber directly into the United States market from Ontario and Quebec. Awesome, Wozny family. Amazing. Congratulations. What we're just going to do, Bush 1, is we're going to sign an executive order and just halt all imports into America. America first, not the America first we're talking about right now, right? And it caused people to jump out of windows, take their lives, because overnight he put on a retroactive duty to 39% going back 3 years on auto parts, which is the number 1 export from Canada to the United States at the time in the 90s, and number 2 from lumber. And just collapsed the economies, and then we had our big recession in the 1990s. That was Bush 1, on top of all the other stuff that Bush 1, George Sheff has done. So we are here exposing it and bringing a lot of light to here. There's so much more to be disclosed as we go on, but that's just one of them. And as we're talking about Paul Revere, and I like to have levity because we have to have some laughter along with the truce, you know, goes down. Here's a video that I've been sharing since July 4th of this past year, the 249th anniversary of Independence Day. Enjoy this one. I think you guys will love it.
We've just arrived in the colonies because there was some bitching over a tiny 3% tax. Not that big a deal, but whatever, this shit'll be easy.
What the actual fuck? Where the hell are they? Unless they're lined up 10 feet in front of me wearing bright blue uniforms, I can't see them. These guys are such assholes. What kind of a dickhead doesn't line up in a straight line and patiently take turns shooting one another?
Sir, these colonials are worse than gonorrhea. They hide behind trees and pick us off while we pass through single file wearing bright red. And you would know, Corporal, even though we're the superpower of the world, we still don't know how to counter this ingenious tactic of hiding behind trees.
God damn, we've been here 8 years and are just getting our shit pushed in. These boys weren't kidding, they really do hate taxes.
Okay, this is our last stand. We may have a chance if we just... Nope. Shit. Never mind, those ass-smelling French are here. I'm here in place of Cornwallis, because apparently he's really sick today, to deliver terms of surrender to that giant stud right there.
Pretty awesome, right? Yeah, that's exactly where it is. And we also have to remember, we have to thank Russia, the Russians, the ones who came from Tartar, for being of assistance with the French for battling the tyrannical British monarchy, who were sent at the behest of the City of London, who were backed and bankrolled by the Vatican. The Vatican Bank bankrolled it. Well, we all know, and I'll be talking about this a little bit later coming up in this show, but the 7 families who run the Federal Reserve. Nothing Federal Reserve about it, right? It's a creature from Jekyll Island and absolutely demonic, which is amazing as we watch that collapse. But let me take it back to President JFK. One of the most well-known executive orders President Kennedy signed was Executive Order 11110, which is to return America to constitutional money, to the silverbacks, which would be issued, and a gold-backed standard. That's why I believe he was murdered and assassinated with George Bush's presence there in Dallas, known, verified, as a result of it. And what has DJT done? Well, we know that in 2012 and then through 2014, there was an incredible white hat movement of good white hat military, several of them you've seen on this show, who go back to those times, who are at the highest levels and flag officers, who were joined with civilian organizations to take the country back from the imperialists. And some of those flag officers, 200 of them, made a phone call to 2 billionaires. And one of those billionaires said, "I'll run," and put everything on hold. That was Donald John Trump. I'm going to take you over here to Pastor Bob Joyce. It's a real interesting handle. Derek got to meet him during Truth Tour. And here's a video on JFK. It's a 5-minute video. I'm just going to play the first 90 seconds. Everybody can go to Pastor Bob Joyce's X account after this, the King Elvis, and see what we're talking about, what President Kennedy started, picked up the torch, and spoke out about, including, yes, of course, former 5-star wartime World War II general, then elected President of the United States, Dwight D. Eisenhower. This is a little bit about the fact that President Kennedy knew what was happening in the world and what we all faced and were fighting in the confines that he and his brother and some other benevolents tried to wage in battle against these, some of them reptilian shapeshifters, some of them humans who chose to go to the other side. Here it is.
We go one, we go all. It appears in this timeline, Donald Trump will be the 45th president, and he'll attempt to save the world from the globalists by attempting to save America. Most Americans, even citizens of the world, are not ready for what will be revealed at that time. the forces of darkness, which harm my family, will turn against him, but he and Junior will prevail. Justice will prevail. We choose a great awakening, not because it is easy, but because it is hard, and it is right and just. Therefore, where we go one, we go all. And a time will come many years from now, in the year 2024, for Junior to reveal himself and right the wrongs of history. Humanity will defeat the Great Reset, and a great awakening shall begin.
Now, between you and me, I think that was an AI-generated message. I haven't run through the high filters people can. But we also know, and we have seen, all of the analog footage for certain of President Kennedy warning about secret societies and how the idea of secrecy is repugnant in a free and democratic, I don't like the word democratic, republic, because really they can't exist together. But you have to use terminology. You have to bring the public to a level of conscious awakening, leveraging terms and terminology for which they put a definition on. For any of you who are not sovereign yet, you have an idea that English is the language of contracts. So you leverage what you have, and then you move forward from there and continue to upgrade ourselves. It's extremely powerful, right? So looking at this and looking at JFK and JFK Jr., just stop and think about what's coalescing right now, everybody. How is it that in the period of roughly 10 weeks, all of a sudden, and I'll put air quotes on this, all of a sudden, you have a film about Melania, okay? You have a film, Love Story is the name, on JFK Jr., and just released a little over a week ago, Baz Luhrmann's film on Elvis Presley in concert. It's an incredible trailer. It's on Amazon Prime. And in the next few days, this Thursday, is the film being done by Antoine Fuqua. Remember the guy who did Sniper with Mark Wahlberg, Training Day? And it is Michael Jackson. How is it in 10 weeks, 3 people in history that the tabloids have talked about for decades? Elvis was spotted in a store. Is Elvis still alive? JFK Jr. still here. Is JFK Jr. alive? And remember, one of the last well-known comments from JFK Jr. that has existed for decades was, "I will find those who murdered my father and make them pay." How is it possible that all of these are coinciding in this time, leading up to Easter and leading up during the ascension process, the 40 days until May 15th? I think it's pretty amazing, really amazing. Feel free to post in your comments what you feel about that. And then we've also noticed some incredible controversy over some DJT posts. And I think Melissa Redpill did a great job in pulling this one together. So I'll take you over to her on X, since can't share the Telegram with it right now, on StreamYard. So 3 weeks ago, we had President Trump post about Tuesday will be Power Plant Day, Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one. In Iran, it'll be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Well, that was 3 weeks ago. And then we just had him post that image of healing, just like Reiki. We have light that comes from our hands, right? You can channel the ki. I'm a Reiki master. As you know, been practicing Reiki for nearly a quarter of a century, so you can feel it activate in your hands primarily. But you can also see this under different types of photography, right? But is he healing somebody, or is he awakening somebody? There's been a lot of speculation in that picture. Just might be JFK Jr. ready to come out. And week 3 is today. Today, we'll watch what he posts. And we're in a biblical week in the ascension process right now. And all of this is the foundation for what is happening in the financial reset around the world as it returns to the gold standard and the new American currency, which rolls out on July 4th. This year, months away. My goodness, what an amazing time to be alive. Here it is, and you cannot make this up. Here's Callie Alley. Trump will be reading, again on Tuesday. This is Bible reading week in America. So for the entire week, the encouragement of people to read the Bible. And on Tuesday, Trump will be reading 2 Chronicles 7:11 to 22 in the Oval Office between 6 and 7 p.m. Eastern as a public service announcement. And as Callie Alley says, you can't make this up. Trump will be reading this passage. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I'll forgive their sin and will heal their land. I will establish your royal throne as I covenanted with David, your father. The scripture is about Solomon rebuilding the temple. No coincidences. Wow. What did you also just witness over the last several days? The triumphal arch, receiving approval to be constructed at the end of the National Mall in Washington for America's 250. And you have golden angels blowing the trumpets. Anybody can look that up easily and see what that's about with scripture. Absolute boom week ahead. Massive, massive boom week ahead, which also is this, and also is this. Cuba next. Before I go on, just want to give a shout out to our partnership with Goldco. Donald Trump Jr. and I have partnered with Goldco. He re-announced his next 1-year partnership with them. So here you are, everybody. We had this film just over a year ago. They now have 8,000 5-star reviews. And we'll go into this shortly right after, but Russia is abandoning BRICS and coming back to the new U.S. American dollar. Notice I didn't say Federal Reserve note, the new U.S. American dollar. I hope everybody is waking up to the shift that's already happened and has continued to play out right here, right now. So stay tuned for this message from President Trump and Goldco. All right, you sovereign souls, now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver if you already have not. And if you are and you have a chance to do so, I highly encourage to do so even more, because gold and silver will launch the golden age, which Commander-in-Chief Trump has continuously referenced.
The dollar is going down, and it's not a pretty picture, and it's not being sustained by proper policy and proper thinking. This was an opportunity, and maybe an opportunity to show people what's happening with the dollar so that we can do something about it.
Get some if you can. BuddhaLovesGold.com will take you to our partner Goldco. They have over 6,000 5-star reviews. This is why now is the time to buy gold and silver, because we have thousands of Americans buying gold today. The rising inflation has reduced our purchasing power. Dysfunctional politics don't work for us. The US dollar has lost over 97% of its value since 1913, while the price of gold has increased over 9,000%. Silver has fared well against the dollar too, with the silver price increasing over 4,500% since 1913. It's about wealth protection. Physical precious metals act as a hedge against dips in volatile markets. Go over to BuddhaLovesGold.com. That's www.BUDDHA, BuddhaLovesGold.com. You will download your free silver and gold guide today, and our great people over there at Goldco will take care of you. That's BuddhaLovesGold.com. You'll see a picture of me right on there, Brad Wozny. And once again, BRICS is the new financial system. Asset-backed precious metals is the way of the future. This is about financial control. Diversifying your assets with gold and silver puts you in control of your wealth at BuddhaLovesGold.com. So we're in moments of reset in history, which are unlike anything that we've seen in our lives, in our parents' lives, and our grandparents' lives. For generations, what you are witnessing and living through right now has not happened. And we have a spiritual recalibration, which is extremely powerful, backing all of this, pushing it forward. Again, sound money, God's money, gold, silver, written about in the Bible. The Organic Act of 1792, Philadelphia Mint, bimetallic ratio of 15:1 is what we're coming back at. The announcement that I read to you from the Treasury Department's website and shared with you the very moment it came out, mere moments after announced in the Oval Office from President Trump that new American gold money would be printed. It will have his signature the first time in history of a nation, and it's a sovereign nation, not a country. There's a difference. The sovereign nation of America, the constitutional republic, not a corporation, will have a president sign its new American currency. And I read that from the Treasury, showed you all on the website here just 3 weeks ago. New American currency, no more Federal Reserve dollar. Complete difference, right? Fake bullshit money, which isn't even money, but we've had to call it money because right now it's still traded as a standard around the world. But let's just also open it up here and realize that what you had happen in the last week is for the first time in nearly half a century, ships could transit through the Strait of Hormuz without fear of being boarded, shot at, mined, or blown out of the water. You had, for the first time in the last week in the Strait of Hormuz, the other Gulf country neighbors in the Middle East operating without fear that they would have missiles shot at them. That hasn't happened for decades. You have a coalescence of a coalition over there in the Middle East that wants to rout the IRGC, the regime. You have a resurgence of Christianity, not Catholicism, not Protestantism, not Baptist, whatever. I don't know what Baptists are called now. I almost said baptism, right? But Christianity, Orthodox Christianity, going back to that spiritual awakening. Extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. And again, gold, silver, precious metals, God's money. Fundamentals would have lasted for thousands of years. And now what's happened? Well, yeah, sure. Yesterday, the Iranians shot machine guns at a French frigate transiting. I mean, okay, even a 7.62 or a 50 cal, is it really going to do anything? Because that's all they really have left now. It's almost like they have, 9 horsepower Johnson motors and the 16-foot tinny aluminum. They've got a couple AK-47s. They are smoked. But they're still trying to stand, right? And that's what happens when you have the demons who have taken over and people who have chosen to become demonic themselves. And there's no going back to that. So Trump just gave him another ultimatum today. But that's not the post we're talking about today, week 3 in this Ascension week. Well, what have you got, though? You have oil, tankers, super tankers lined up in the Gulf, just outside Louisiana, and in the Gulf of America, no longer Gulf of Mexico. Lined up, super tankers buying oil and crude from America. You have it in Alaska. Trump even posted that on Truth Social. In Alaska, lined up buying crude so they can go back to China, go to Japan, and service other nations around the world. It's freaking incredible. Trump called NATO's bluff this week. Trump called Keir Starmer's bluff this week. Keir Starmer in the UK had a number of his top generals walk away and say, no more of this. The Irish Patriots taking back their country, 400 Garda, which are the equivalent of a Ottawa police services, right? Which are publicly traded, Dun & Bradstreet numbers for the Irish Garda to Ottawa police services. You can find them traded on the stock market. Said, we're just not going to show up. We all feel sick. They're not going to show up, but they sent in the British Army after the Patriots 9 days ago. And guess what? The British Army and the Garda did not win. The Patriots did. They stood up there peacefully like the Freedom Convoy that James Bowder, Pastor Arthur Pavlovsky, Norman Travisy, and so many others were a part of. Daniel Warren Oak, Sensei Phil, Derek Noonan, other Patriots that you've seen here on the shows or posted even yesterday in Sovereign Spiritual Warriors show. partook in and are still standing up, because it's for the children, full stop. And everything else comes after that. You want the peace, prosperity, and abundance, the love, the tier 1 civilization, type 1 spacefaring. Great. Don't allow this to happen to the children. And a society that allows that to happen does not deserve peace, love, prosperity, and wealth, right? And that's why it's all up to us to be a part of this great awakening, the spiritual awakening, and look after one another, like you heard from Ron at Helping Horses Heal. It's absolutely incredible. What also happened is you see how energy, currency, and geography are always moving together. And as we have it with Cuba next, we know that with the free flow of oil, what did you notice? Silver's up to $82 already today. Boom, came back up. You still have the massive disparity in the hypothecation from silver, which is going on between Shanghai, futures, gold in India to now. You have China, not whatsoever, for weeks on end, who supplied 50% of the world silver market minimum. Not doing it anymore. Well, that's supply and demand, but you have about 1 billion ounces of demand of silver per annum. You have roughly 800 million that were being supplied to the market as of this time last year. And now that 800 million was cut by at least 400 million. So you might squeeze 400 million out of it. But then you also had the cartels in Mexico, designated foreign terrorist organizations. And guess what? It's all about eradicating the terrorists. Like President Trump said, drug dealers, you kill them. Child rapists, you kill them. That's it. Quick tribunals, hanging or death by lethal injection or death by a bullet in the head. That's it. And they're going out and they're eviscerating them. But that also puts a lot of pressure on the silver refining, even though in Venezuela it comes up to Mexico and it supplies roughly 25% of the market in the United States. So supply and demand. Silver is going to go through the roof. Barrels per oil, price of barrel per oil has dropped like a rock compared to where it was a week and 2 weeks ago. And all of the banksters, from Lloyd's of London to the City of London, remember the mayor of London is more powerful than the king and the queen of the royal monarchy. That's why Elizabeth had to take off her shoes and bow at the gates and ask permission to enter London, the City of London, when she came from Buckingham Palace, the Lizard Queen. I mean, people have to wake up to that at this point in time. I mean, there was a hologram on her cage, and you can see, let's just go ring some church bells, everybody, and watch the demons shapeshift, because in the resonant frequency and the vibration, it can't be there right now. There's technology being used that is over 1,000 years more advanced that we know now, that is military grade, that the United States military is deploying. Just go look at my shows from 2 years ago. Billy Carson even admitted it, who owns his own space company in Colorado Springs, there for meetings with SpaceX, Northrop Grumman, you name it, all of the American DOD contractors, right? Now it's Department of War, then Department of Defense. He said, every one of us is using technology in our labs and deployed that is at least 300 years ahead of what the public is aware of. Minimum. That's the minimum benchmark. That's the floor, 300 years ahead of where we are right now. And you're talking to a guy, this is coming from me, I'm like, holy cow, looking at this. And I was there when, right after we launched BlackBerry, a research in motion, the pager size. And then we had the pager for email become a phone. And then we had email and phone. And then we were sending photos. Could you imagine 300 years? Well, guess what? They're using something more than 1,000 years advanced right now, battling for our freedom and the liberation of humanity, which will help us get to peace, love, prosperity. Nasara is real. Jasara is real. And it's also a requirement to belong, once again, as a type 1 spacefaring civilization, including the truths which are coming out. So then we're going to transition right now over to, we've got the oil, we've got the gold, we've got the silver, we've got the fact that a new American currency is coming in July 4th. Russia is abandoning BRICS. They're not going to do the de-dollarization on the new U.S. American currency, but it's going to continue to happen. Going to continue to happen on the U.S. Federal Reserve. And we're going to come back and bookend this with President JFK and his executive order with a couple of videos that even came out by Buffett and Henry Paulson in the last few. But we got to talk about the executive order disclosure coming this week, alien.gov and aliens.gov. back when it came out 5 weeks ago, at this point in time, hey, the United States government, the White House, bought the domain names aliens.gov and alien.gov. Well, here is President Trump in Turning Point talking about, again, the executive order that he handed on to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth for a full UFO, UAP, and alien disclosure on the planet. Here's the 55-second video right now.
Recently directed the Secretary of War. How good is Pete Hegseth doing, by the way? To begin releasing government files relating to UFOs and unexplained aerial phenomena. And I figured this was a good crowd because I know you people, you're really into that. I don't know if I am, but so I'm pleased to report today. I thought I'd save it for this crowd because you're a little bit out there, you know, a little bit. That this process is well underway, and we found many very interesting documents, I must say. And the first releases will begin very, very soon. So you can go out and see if that phenomena is correct. You'll figure it out. Let me know. Let me know. But we've had a lot of questions. It's something that really captivates the mind. There's no question about it. With you, as you
all right, there you are in this one. So let me take you over. As we know, a Congresswoman, Anna Paulina Luna, been sharing this big time. Here she is on news broadcast, and then I'll share the Joe Rogan episode regarding this. And remember, Book of Enoch with Bishop Jim O'Connor. We've been on here for nearly 4 years, off and on, talking about the disclosure. Bishop Jim has access to all 777 books, Christian Orthodox. He's part of the church, the very first church that Christ created, put his hand on his disciple and said, "You will be the bishop in my first church, you and your wife." Man and woman, married, not a problem with Joshua, representing the perfect union of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Well, here is Rep Luna right now. Well, not right now, rather, I'll show this to you right now. Just a few days ago, Florida Congresswoman discussing the disclosure. Here it is.
We're not in the business of telling the American people what to believe. But I think once you see this footage, once you realize that the phenomena is real, I think that the fact that the president is pushing for transparency is something that most people in the United States are very curious about. Just goes to show the differences between this administration and every single one previously. And so I'm very happy. We had actually requested 46 documents specifically that the Department of War seemed to have lost our paperwork on. And then we did reach back out to them. Secretary Hegseth, of course, have been great on this issue. And now with that announcement, we're getting those documents. So I couldn't be happier. We're not in the business of...
And here is then Senator Marco Rubio. Remember when the balloons were shot down? They had to send the F-23s and the F-16s, the F-18s that were shooting down the Chinese spy balloons. And then it was said that there was a UFO in Trudeau back then, even in Canada. Trudeau had to leverage, with help from NORAD, get some F-22 Raptors to go after these Chinese balloons that turned out to be UFOs, and acknowledged to everybody that we shot down UFOs. Really? Shut down a UFO with a missile? I highly doubt that. Well, here is then Senator Marco Rubio, now Secretary of State, discussing the shootdown of 3 actual UFOs in America.
This morning, we're going to have a classified briefing on the objects that were shot down over the last weekend. First of all, I don't know why it's classified. I do not believe that any of the information that they've shared or are going to share with us is going to be the kind of thing that has to be kept secret. There's very specific reasons why things are classified, and if this doesn't meet the standard, maybe I'm wrong, we're going to find out. Second is this is pretty extraordinary. Okay, this is not just a curiosity or into weird stuff about UFOs and aliens. For the first time in 65 years, the United States has shot something down over our airspace, not once, but 4 times. And 3 of those 4 things, we have no idea what they are. And people deserve to know what they are. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary. You're launching at least $800,000 missiles off of fighter jets over American airspace. That's a pretty big deal. We need to understand why we did it and what these things are, where they come from, who owns them, who made them, why are they here. And perhaps the explanation is easy, or maybe not. The point is that these are important things that the American people deserve to know, and that they.
So he was in the Intel committee talking about that, right? So again, preparing the public, getting ready for a mass disclosure, because you got to think about this on all sides, right? So taxes, you actually, unless you are living in Washington, D.C., or you are a employee of the federal government of the United States of America Corporation, you don't need to pay income taxes. Not at all. There's no contract for it. There's no amendment for it. There's multiple subsections confirming it, but they train us to believe that we had to, right? Same thing anywhere else around there, that you have to, it builds roads, it builds new schools, etc. But the bond gate's going to be an event and wipe out the market 60 to 80 times greater than the 2008. 107 and I covered that just a little over a week ago and discussed it at length, which includes property taxes and school bonds, etc. So there's multiple things about to be unveiled in a massive way coming out directly from the White House and from representatives of the White House. And then it will be across the world through different countries and their heads of state, so to speak, or representatives to get on board. But the man who is the head of the White Hat Alliance in a public way right now for the entire planet, President Trump, is getting the public warmed up for everything that's coming out here right now in this incredible plan to awaken humanity. UFOs, aliens, taxes are false, income taxes, bullshit fake money from a Federal Reserve and Treasury and a bonds that's all made up, that's run by 7 families. And they make money off the interest they loan to everybody, and it's just a printing press. It's all here for everybody until it returns back to exactly the way it should be, divine sovereign law. This includes the court systems, the weaponization, the British accreditation of the registry of the legal bar system, which is not lawful whatsoever. There's a law and there's legal and there's policy and there's a law and there's a mandate and then there's a law. They're completely different, right? But it's just the psychosis that they're breaking for everybody to break through that cognitive dissonance as to the entrainment we've had in our cells, in our epigenetics, in our DNA, including that from the pharmakeia, take a pill for this, got a headache, go get this. Well, ibuprofen was just pulled from the market by the FDA, 90,000 more bottles last week. Why? What does ibuprofen do to your kidney, to your liver? What does it actually do to your heart? What does Advil do? Take a look into all of that stuff. It's very simple. It's all there. How many times have there been class action lawsuits against Tylenol for what it does and what it kills? They showed in court, they're like, you're basically murdering babies. If pregnant women are taking this, maybe you want to put something on the label. Yeah, okay, no problem. Same thing with Johnson & Johnson, the baby powder. Yeah, exactly. What you need to do is your baby is out here. They need to get ready for bed. Oh, they had a pee, they had a poop, got to change the diaper, put baby powder on there. And yeah, we just happen to put asbestos in the baby powder, Johnson & Johnson, and knew about it and had 2, not 1, but 2 class action lawsuits claims, which they settled, confirming that they actually put asbestos in there. But after the first lawsuit, they didn't even take out the ingredients. Let's just keep putting asbestos in the baby's powders. One of the attorney generals of the Department of Justice just last week suing Lululemon for PUFAs. How many times have we talked about PUFAs on the show here with Root Brands, Dr. Christina Rahm, and Clayton Thomas? Several over the years. PUFAs, Lululemon and other manufacturers with polyesters and synthetics knowingly were putting PUFAs, which are endocrine disruptors and also disrupt the ability for you to have babies. And what do most women do with Lululemon yoga warmers? They don't wear underwear. So it's secreting into the body these things which disrupt your hormones, hormone disruptors, endocrine disruptors. Don't even get me started on receipts that you get at the store. Don't you find it weird that if you get a receipt, gas station receipt, grocery store, people try to give you receipts? It feels like really slick and papery. Do you know what's on there? Go ahead and research that, everybody. Do not touch a paper receipt unless you have gloved hands. I'm telling you. They have been attempting, and this is all coming down now. It's all out there. It's all being resolved, but just watch yourself. Know thyself and know thy environment and continue to have a high level vibration on it. It's absolutely powerful. So let's go back to the UFOs, right? Here's a video from TikTok, allegedly from a man at Area 51, even talking about it. He's wearing a uniform. I can't tell the exact branch, nor can I tell the exact rank based on this video cropping. But have a look. I've got a few more to share with you.
I'm at Area 51 right now. Check out this baby. He's been here for almost 70 years. Thanks to Donald Trump, this is no longer a secret. Let me switch to the front camera and show you this wonder. It's not even made of metal. Scientists say it's something else, but no one can say exactly what. All right, that's it. I'm at Area 51 right now. Check out.
Here's another one. All right, there's no sound on this one, but it is a UFO landing in Armagosa Valley, Nevada. 50-second video shows blue UFO landed, then the UFO lifts up, moves to the right, takes off at the speed of light. And the source is from MUFON, so I'll just speed it up here now. You see it, it's going to blink and then take off in these last few seconds. Here we are. Boom, gone. Now, last night, I took pictures. I sent it out to our text. Michael Jaco, Colonel Sellers, Bishop Jim, a few others, not to be named, and Derek. And he can be named. That's fine. Johnson. And again, I watched the sun go down, right? Get your sun in the morning, into your eyes. Get your sun at night. I'm not a full breatharian, and I'm not interested in becoming one. But it's important to be having sun in your eyes because of what it does. And it has a biochemical reaction in our brain, our nervous system, calm. It also activates neurons in our brain, stimulates activity, serotonin, melatonin, DMHC, all these great things. Plus, you're staring at the sunset. It's absolutely beautiful, right? Thanking. I always give thanks at the end of the day. It's part of my Reiki practice as well. Giving thanks for being here at another day that it has risen, even unless it's a snowstorm or a rainstorm. So the sun goes down just to the southwest, sets, and right behind it is another planet. And that planet goes up, and it's not the moon. Everybody can look at the lunar cycle, what we're in right now, and go back to April 18, last night, in the Americas, Nibiru, and then that slowly rises. So where the sun sets in the southwest, the moon's not supposed to be there, right? It's supposed to be over in the northeast if everything was proper. So what's rising? And many people have heard when I've done the UFO shows or done the super soldier shows with Michael or others, or Brad Olson, Laura Eisenhower, a few others on here, we talk about these things. I was 12 years old, Royal Canadian Air Cadets, coming home with my dad, and we were on the final street before we made a left to go to our house, to the final second last street from our home. And we saw over Pearson International Airport, because I lived in Brampton at the time, actually. We saw like 8 to 12 then showed up, lights that were going crazy, circling, flying around each other. And this is over Pearson International Airport, the largest airport in the world in terms of air traffic. And it lasted. My dad stopped the car. We stared at it for a good 10 minutes. And then they left, and we went home, and we dialed the Brampton Regional Police because there's no 911 in those days, and they couldn't take a phone call. We kept doing it and doing it and doing it. Finally got through to dispatcher. We told the dispatcher what it was. They said, yeah, we've gotten a lot of these calls. And kids saw it the next day. And I've had other experiences like that throughout the rest, teenage years and adult life. So all this is coming out right now, including the Book of Enoch, the absolute incredible images which are coming out from the Seraphim. And you can go online, you can find all of that. I'm just going to show you one last image which came out, which was even shared by the Daily Mail last week. And this one is over Ohio, right? Because you can find these images all day long, these videos everywhere. I've seen them. I can't tell you exactly what planet they're from, if some of them are ours or other planets, but it's all coming out for people to be aware that we're not alone in this universe and getting them ready. So here it is. You watch these cool, golden, not even orbs, golden shapes, almost transform, coming down from the clouds, blinking in and out. Triangle formation UFOs, it says, in an Ohio base. What base in Ohio? Don't know. But once again, it's all coming out. And why did, by the way, Trump get the nuclear dust and secure that in the agreement with Iran? He secured the agreement with Iran to get the nuclear dust because you can track all the way down to the very mine that radioactive dust came from, in uranium before it was enriched uranium. And you can find out who sold Iran the uranium to make nuclear weapons. So he's getting the dust, and it's absolutely powerful. So let's just finalize and rack it up here with Canada. Okay, so again, Canada, Crown Corporation, registered, Washington, D.C. Still today, its headquarters are Pennsylvania Avenue at the Canadian Embassy. We just had the Bilderberg meetings last week. We had the emergency Federal Reserve meetings while the Bilderberg meetings are going on because the new currency has been announced. So that's absolutely massive. And we have the Federal Reserve. Remember, everybody, Federal Reserve is owned by 7 families. So then our birth certificate, and we talk about the straw man. Now, I'm not going to train you on how to go find your straw man, the QSIP number, and how much that's your worth right here. We've done a few shows over the years on Rumble. You can find it on Rumble. Just search any show that goes over 25,000 views. That's typically one about the straw man. Show you in Canada how to go find that. Manulife Financial owns it, sends it to the Vatican Bank. Vital Statistics Canada gives it to Washington, D.C. And the fact that, and the same thing goes for the Commonwealth of anybody. So even Lieutenant Colonel Ricardo Bossi, who I see as Commander-in-Chief of Australia right now, he shared earlier this week on X, hey, look, Australia, Corporation of, registered, Washington, D.C., and satellite offices in Los Angeles. Australia. There you are. So Australia, Corporation, Washington, D.C., New York Stock Exchange. And he's talked about that for years as well. I've done that here too. So you can see all of this, right? So your straw man, remember, Wizard of Oz, tied to your birth certificate registered with the BIS over in Switzerland, registered with the Vatican Bank, who you are, who the parents are, right? Puts you into the legal precedent so that they can start trading you on the stock market. And then anything they do to you, they monetize, whether it's bonds, whether it's court cases, even just Daniel Warnock. Remember when they were here on the show with Major General Valley over a year and a half ago, and they were even saying to the judge, Marcella, whatever her name was, just like, look, this entire court case is worth X amount. It's traded on the markets. Here's the bond for the court case. So you're profiting off this court case of what you're saying. And they were challenging her on that, right? And the judge, the woman dressing up as judge, just refused to go along. But we know all about it. So we're going back to sound money. We're going back to sovereignty across everybody. And things are being put out there to wake you up or wake up the public. For example, the glyphosate executive order, right? That's to wake up the public, get them enraged. Remember when President Trump did the thing on Epstein and the reporters are asking him, well, what about Epstein? He's like, why is everybody talking about that? Well, everybody got so pissed, right? More people are piling in. So that incredible reverse psychology continues to happen, everybody to be wary and aware of it. Let's take you over here to the former Federal Reserve Chair and billionaire Henry Paulson talking about an event that's going to happen, which he's basically worried about is going to collapse the U.S. Federal Reserve note dollar. He doesn't go in fully to saying what it is, but here you are on Bloomberg TV this week with his warning about this. And just read between the lines here, dear souls. Read between the lines.
Hit the wall and you're trying to issue treasuries and the Fed is the only buyer and the prices of the treasuries are going down and interest rates are up. That's a dangerous thing. And so the thing I am talking about now is we know, people say, when are you going to hit the wall? I obviously don't know. It's impossible to know. But the law of economic gravity, you're not going to know that. So, and when we hit it, it will be vicious. So we have to prepare for that eventuality. And I think we need an emergency break the glass plan, which is targeted and short-term on the shelf. So it's ready to go when we hit the wall.
So nobody is buying U.S. Treasuries except the Federal Reserve. Like, do we have any buyers for Treasury? No, because the world knows, central banks knows, the hedge funds know, the big institutional traders also know, and even the billionaires and mega millionaires of the world know The U.S. Federal Reserve note is collapsing. It's worth 96% less now in 2026. What it was worth, it could buy in 1913 when they came out with the 1913 Act, right? Where they created the Federal Reserve Board, the IRS, the FBI, and the ADL, Anti-Defamation League, right? To control the masses. And then they stole all of America's gold in 1933. They repriced it later that same year, December 1933. And in 1934, they told the rest of the world, you are going to take payment from us in the Federal Reserve Board's Federal Reserve note, but we are going to receive payment from you for the gold. That's what America said under that deep stater Roosevelt at that time, right? Here we have a reversal. Former Federal Reserve Board Chair Henry Paulson, who worked for the Seven Families, a billionaire himself, looks like he's probably a shapeshifter. Let's go ring a bell over his head because he's definitely got the look and the pointy ears and the long, kind of looks like a werewolf type long hand fangs. But well, who knows? You know, whatever. Warning. This is going to happen. We are going to hit a wall. We need to have something in place, not a bailout anymore, because Trump, with best of central casting, is running the Treasury, and the Federal Reserve was placed under Treasury in 2019. We've shown that executive order many, many moons ago. And once again, everybody, what's also important in this awakening, let's look at Canada. So again, keep going for 51st state. Keep going for the independence vote in Alberta, because since they have Bill C-9 that they want to pass, which is 25 years in prison. If you read from the Bible in Canada or you disagree with them in Australia, they've already passed their own bill, and they are happily telling them that they have had a crack force. They have cracked down on terrible Facebook posts on social media and arrested 12 people for things that the government deemed harmful to them, right? Harmful to them. I'm going to show you a couple of things on the Council of the District of Columbia.gov in Washington, D.C. about Canada. So this applies to everybody in a Commonwealth country. And also, if you are an American, well, hey, guess what? This is what Trump saved you all from. What are we looking at here? Well, subsection 1-623.37, compensation finds that the amount of compensation payable to an employee is neither a citizen nor resident of the United States or Canada. Wait, Washington, D.C. Why do they care? Why did they put Canada in there? And here we go. Place outside continental United States or Canada. Why is that in Washington, D.C.? Let's go to this one right here. The DMV. The DMV. Subsection 50-1301.35, definitions, and they're talking about the Department of Motor Vehicles, but also what is considered a state or a territory of America conforming to Washington, D.C. Remember, the District of Columbia is a city-state that was placed over the American corporation. Here it is, number 4. State means any state, territory, or possession of the United States or any province or territory of Canada. Possession of the United States or any province or territory of Canada. Washington, D.C. has jurisdiction over any province or territory of Canada. Wow, right? Well, let's continue on. By the way, there's a massive amount of these. You guys can just go onto it. Here we are. This is the authority to enter and execute compact into agreements. The mayor. Again, here, I'll read the very first top. The mayor of the District of Columbia. District of Columbia. The mayor. The mayor. Remember, mayor, City of London. Now you have a mayor, District of Columbia. Well, it talks about a compact shall be open to joinder. Joinder means enter into, contract with, by a state, territory, possession of the United States, the district. So the United States is separate from the district. District is District of Columbia, right? We've just verified that. I'll go back up here if you guys need to see this again. Subsection 4-1422, authority to enter into and execute the compact. The mayor of the District of Columbia. Then it says in brackets, district, as in the definition. So whenever it's used, the rest of it, and then you just go down here and you find Canada. So United States is separate from the District of Columbia. The district is distinctly its own. The Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, and with consent of Congress, the government of Canada or any Canadian province, which you've already seen, a province or territory of Canada is also owned, overseen, overridden, and does not supersede that of the jurisdiction of the district, Washington, D.C. And the final one, we'll just put it out here. Let me just get rid of these two. And by the way, there's 9 of these right off the bat. I'm not even going to do Texas, the state of Texas, recognizing all of Canada as a state of America, right? But here you go. We're talking about driver's licenses and insurance revoked in any state or territory of the United States, province of Canada, or other foreign country. Like, well, why did they just single out Canada? Because it's a continental republic. And once again, the Canada Crown Corporation registered July 1st, 1867, Dominion Day, right, in Washington, D.C., the district. 4 years later, they took over the American Constitutional Republic and they registered the United States of America Corporation in 1871 in Washington, D.C., the district. And then D.C. oversaw the USA Inc., which oversaw Canada Crown Corporation Inc., and everything else, Australia Inc., you name it. It's all there for people to find. We've done many shows on it. It's white and black. It's all there. It hasn't been removed. And it's really powerful for everybody as you look at the return to sound money. And let's go back to President JFK as we wrap this up. And what an incredible man, and what an incredible family as well for the Kennedys and the benevolence of it, who have literally, just like the founders of America and their families, pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to get us to this stage in the world. And there's other families too who have done this, dear souls. And he signed Executive Order 11110, which was to bring us back, the American Constitutional Republic, to sound money. And what we are seeing right now is exactly that. You have a global shift from oil. Now people are safely transiting all of their freight, people, countries, nations, through the Strait of Hormuz, which is the second largest choke point, the one over just outside of the Philippines and Malay, I forget the name of it, is the first largest choke point for trade. And it's always an embattled one with China, Japan, other nations there as well, right? Disputing it, causing problems and gridlock. Well, what was interrupted now with that Executive Order 11110? It actually brought a lot to light. It helped further spawn the White Hat Alliance, which is aiding us all behind the scenes right now. And there was reported by Sensei Phil on the show that there's 100,000 American troops which have been brought together, C-17s, which have been deployed in a certain area that are not going to be fighting human beings. It's believed to be fighting dark off-world entities. So keep them all in mind. While people are worried about the metals movement of COMEX crashing its vaults, the silver is gone, almost gone. India pulled out of London, LBMA, and the London Market Exchange on April 1st, New Year's, and the Gregorian calendar, right? Not the Julian, though. Gone. Incredible. So this isn't about reacting to what's coming up and the crash of the Federal Reserve American dollar around the world, the rise of the new American currency, the crash of what we were taught in Roman Catholic churches, the rise of truth coming to us from all 777 books of the Bible coalesced over a 4,000-year period of time. The crash, eventually, of what we're using oil and gas for and all of its byproducts, including pharmakia, sorcery, and witchcraft, and the rise of wellness, the rise of incredible capabilities which have been gifted to us by our prime creator, including free energy, and the rise of a type 1 civilization where we'll be here now. It's about recognizing these signs, getting yourself ready, sovereigns, at all levels to celebrate the ascension as well as the fact that you are about to have the greatest party the world has ever seen, America's 250th, July 4th of this year, all the way through the following year. For those of you who can, go ahead and please support our partner, Goldco. The link's here with the show. You can tell them that we sent you. If you're in America, the link works for Americans only, and you can call them toll free. You can put your investment advisor on the phone with them. Ladies, get your husband on the phone with them, get your investment advisor, your stockbroker, because one of the things that a broker can't do, an investment advisor can't do, is they cannot allocate you in to physical precious metals. And the paper money markets, they're going bye-bye. They're going bye-bye. You're seeing that implosion. And here we are. And we're in that age right now. And God bless you all for being here. We'll see you next week. And stay tuned for these final messages. Once again, President Trump liking gold, Goldco. We'll be right back in a few days. All right, you sovereign souls, now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver if you already have not. And if you are and you have a chance to do so, I highly encourage to do so even more, because gold and silver will launch the golden age, which Commander-in-Chief Trump has continuously referenced.
The dollar is going down, and it's not a pretty picture, and it's not being sustained by proper policy and proper thinking. This was an opportunity, and maybe an opportunity to show people what's happening with the dollar so that we can do something about it.
Get some if you can. BuddhaLovesGold.com will take you to our partner Goldco. They have over 6,000 five-star reviews. This is why now is the time to buy gold and silver, because we have thousands of Americans buying gold today. The rising inflation has reduced our purchasing power. Dysfunctional politics don't work for us. The US dollar has lost over 97% of its value since 1913, while the price of gold has increased over 9,000%. Silver has fared well against the dollar too, with the silver price increasing over 4,500% since 1913. It's about wealth protection. Physical precious metals act as a hedge against dips in volatile markets. Go over to BuddhaLovesGold.com. That's www.BUDDHA, BuddhaLovesGold.com. You will download your free silver and gold guide today, and our great people over there at Goldco will take care of you. That's BuddhaLovesGold.com. You'll see a picture of me right on there, Brad Wozny. And once again, BRICS is the new financial system. Asset-backed precious metals is the way of the future. This is about financial control. Diversifying your assets with gold and silver puts you in control of your wealth at BuddhaLovesGold.com. Thanks for joining us on the program, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, follow, subscribe, share this with 9 friends and family. And of course, if you enjoy our blinged Buddha firing red pills from his 9mm, let us know.